Good morning, America. Prayers for Pope Francis. The Vatican reporting the 88-year-old pontiff is in critical condition with a complex lung infection. The latest update from the Vatican.
New ultimatum. Elon Musk orders all federal employees to justify their jobs by email tomorrow or consider themselves gone. With some government agencies, including the FBI, pushing pause. All of this creating even more confusion and anxiety for millions already uncertain about their future.
Hospital shootout, the hostage situation in the ER, an officer responding to the scene, shot and killed.
Reports of an officer down as well as the shooter down inside the hospital.
5 others, including a doctor and nurse, wounded. What we're learning about the alleged gunman this morning.
Athletes targeted. A member of the New York Jets reportedly robbed at gunpoint after a string of burglaries of high-profile athletes' homes. The latest arrests in these brazen crimes.
Alec Baldwin opens up, starring in a new reality show with his wife as she reveals Baldwin was diagnosed with PTSD in the aftermath of the Rush shooting.
I've never been through anything like this in my entire life.
The intimate look at his family's life.
One more time.
And dance, dance, dance. It's Thon weekend at Penn State, the 46-hour dance marathon. No sitting, no sleeping, all for a great cause.
Live from ABC News in New York, this is Good Morning America.
You ready to dance for 46 hours?
Oh, I don't know.
I never need an excuse to dance, but that's a pretty good one.
It is. Good morning, America. Good to see you. Janae is off. Rachel Scott is back with us.
Good to be here.
Absolutely. And it is a Sunday morning full of some major news. Overnight, Russia attacking Ukraine with a record number of drones, with tomorrow marking 3 years since Russia's full-scale invasion. The White House saying the president is confident he can get a deal to end the war this week. We're going to go live to Ukraine here.
Plus, the latest on that hospital shooting out of York, Pennsylvania. New details this morning about what happened, what we know about the police officer who was killed. And we are also breaking down the latest economic news. Existing home sales dropping nearly 5% in January, while the stock market is also taking a tumble. What's behind the nervousness on Wall Street?
But we do begin here with the health of Pope Francis. The Vatican says his condition is now critical and that he is not out of danger. ABC's Marcus Moore joins us now from Rome with the latest. Marcus, good morning.
Oh, Whit, good morning. The late word from the Vatican is that Pope Francis slept peacefully overnight, but this new statement does not indicate that there's been any change in his condition from yesterday when the Vatican said that he continues to be in a critical condition. We know that the Pope suffered an asthma attack yesterday and required extensive oxygen treatment. He also underwent a blood transfusion to increase the level of red blood cells and platelets in his system. Doctors say his prognosis is reserved, and we hear from Vatican sources that he is undergoing further tests today and that he continues to use oxygen therapy. Now, this morning, the faithful gathered here in Rome for services which went on despite the Pope's absence. And in the text of his Sunday noontime greeting, he released a personal message that he's confidently continuing treatment at Gemelli Hospital, and he thanked the team of doctors, adding that rest is part of his therapy. Now, in a sign that he is still working, the Pope acknowledged that tomorrow marks the 3rd anniversary of the war in Ukraine, a situation, he said, that is a shameful occasion for the whole of humanity. It is unclear when the Pope might be released from the hospital, but a special prayer service for the Pope has been called for later today. Gio.
So many around the world thinking of the Pope. All right, Marcus, thank you so much. Now to the new ultimatum to federal workers from Elon Musk, asking federal employees to detail their accomplishments last week. And it comes with a warning if the email is ignored. ABC senior White House correspondent Selena Wang is in Washington tracking this. Good morning, Selena.
Hey, good morning, Gio. And that ultimatum from Elon Musk, it is making federal workers even more anxious and confused. Musk is taking his effort to slash the size of the federal government to a whole new level by posting that federal workers need to explain what they've accomplished in the last week or get fired.
This morning, chaos and confusion across the federal government. Elon Musk now downplaying the ultimatum he issued to federal workers: explain what you've done or resign. Musk initially posting on X, all federal employees will shortly receive an email requesting to understand what they got done last week. Failure to respond will be taken as a resignation. Those emails already going out. Sources tell ABC they ask employees to list 5 bullet points of what they've accomplished in the last week. The deadline to respond is tomorrow night. Several hours later, Musk posting, "The bar is very low here. An email with some bullet points that make any sense at all is acceptable." Sources tell ABC top officials at the White House were caught off guard, and many federal agencies, from the State Department to NASA, are urging employees to hold off responding. Newly installed FBI Director Kash Patel telling employees to pause on responding to the email. When pressed, a White House official tells ABC it's up to each employee's manager to determine if the answers are satisfactory. And overnight, President Trump praising the latest moves from Musk.
Elon is doing a great job. He's doing a great job.
Taking a victory lap at the Conservative Political Action Conference, touting his mass layoffs of federal workers.
I've ended all of the so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion programs across the entire federal government and the private sector, and notified every single government DEI officer that their job has been deleted. They're gone. They're fired. You're fired. Get out.
And the fallout continues after Trump fired the nation's top military leadership, ousting General C.Q. Brown as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, alongside several other senior leaders. Brown, a 4-star fighter pilot, has come under fire as Trump aims to rid the military of leaders who support diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, as Brown and some of the others who were fired had done. Trump nominating as his replacement Dan Kane, a retired 3-star Air Force general who has never served in a 4-star position. Senator Jack Reed, the top Democrat on the Armed Services Committee, slamming the move as part of a premeditated campaign by President Trump and Secretary Hegseth to purge talented officers for politically charged reasons, which would undermine the professionalism of our military and send a chilling message through the ranks.
So, guys, it's been a stressful time to be a federal worker, to say the least, and these mass firings are just beginning. Starting next week, the Pentagon is expected to lay off 5,400 civilian employees, and that is just the first wave of firings and what could total tens of thousands of layoffs. Rachel?
Yeah, the White House has not said how long these firings will last or just how many people are going to be impacted. Selena Wang tracking it all for us. Selena, thank you. We turn now to the tense negotiations between the U.S. and Ukraine amid President Trump's push to end the war. Trump pressuring Ukraine to sign a controversial resources deal. ABC's Patrick Reevell joins us now from Kyiv with the latest. Patrick, you're tracking several developing headlines. Drone strikes overnight ahead of the war's anniversary and President Zelensky's counteroffer to Trump. Good morning.
Good morning, Rachel. Yeah, Russia overnight launched its largest drone attack of the war, involving nearly 270 drones. And now here in Kyiv, we could see and hear anti-aircraft guns firing, tracer fire going up, searchlights lighting up the sky. And now tomorrow marks 3 years since Russia's full-scale invasion, and President Zelensky is facing huge pressure from President Trump. Trump demanding this deal that would pay eventually the U.S. $500 billion, paid for by giving America 50% of revenues from Ukraine's resources, including minerals, oil and gas. But Zelensky so far refusing to sign because it offers no security guarantees and because Trump is asking for 5 times more than the US has given Ukraine. Now, a senior Ukrainian official telling us that Ukraine now has proposed paying $100 billion, but he was saying that Zelensky will never sign a deal that, quote, robs the country with zero guarantees. The US is also pressing today Ukraine to accept a new UN resolution that no longer condemns Russia for the invasion. Zelensky himself is due to speak in a few hours, and Russian officials are openly celebrating the sudden shifts. And here in Ukraine, there is anger and worry that President Trump is increasingly aligned more with Vladimir Putin than with them.
All right, Patrick Reevell for us. Thank you. Let's bring in ABC News Chief Global Affairs Correspondent Martha Raddatz, who will be hosting This Week later on this morning. Martha, good morning. Always great to see you. Let's start right there with these negotiations between Ukraine and the U.S. We're seeing a massive shift in U.S. policy. But are the sides actually inching closer to a potential peace deal?
We really have no idea about that, Whit. What we do know is just what you said. There is a massive change. Might they inch closer? Perhaps those rare earth minerals will take it over the top, but that's not really a peace deal. And that's what President Trump is pushing, and pushing hard. But he is putting all the pressure on Volodymyr Zelensky and very, very little on Russia. As Patrick said there, the Russians are celebrating, and they are still bombing Ukraine constantly. So Volodymyr Zelensky is in a terrible position. He's got the president of the United States making fun of him, belittling him, calling him names, and really putting pressure on him, and having meetings, the first meetings, without Ukraine present and Russians president. Now, President Trump says, of course, Ukraine would be part of any deal, but he has really pushed President Zelensky aside. He also has domestic pressure with his poll numbers are not terrific at this point. 3 years tomorrow, people are tired of war. They want a ceasefire, a peace deal as well. But pressure right now, all pressure is really on Ukraine, and we haven't really seen many signs of Volodymyr Zelensky budging with.
And Martha, of course, all of this happening as that purge took place at the Pentagon, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs and other top officials fired. How big of a shakeup is this for military leadership?
I really can't say how huge this is as a deal for the Pentagon. It has people rattled in the Pentagon. The Pentagon, the military, is supposed to be the least political organization in this city. And to have those men and women just fired, summarily fired, and DEI is the likely cause of that, has really rattled people. CQ Brown was serving a 4-year term. This has really never happened before, that a new president comes in and fires his senior military advisor. But we also know that President Trump hadn't even spoken to CQ Brown since becoming president. He saw him at the Army-Navy game, but not in any official capacity had he spoken to CQ Brown about anything. Again, his senior military advisor.
And Trump suggesting this is just the beginning. All right, Martha Raddatz, as always, we appreciate it. Thank you. Tune into This Week later on this morning. Martha talks with Senate Democrat Jack Reed and House Republican Mike Lawler about the Trump administration's push on Ukraine and the unprecedented cuts to the federal workforce. Gio?
Okay, Whit, now to the breaking news overnight and the urgent investigation. 1 officer killed and 5 people wounded in a hostage situation and shootout at a Pennsylvania hospital. ABC's Christian Cordero joins us now from York County. Good morning, Christian.
Good morning, Gio. We're told the officer killed had just turned 30 years old. He responded to this hospital during that active shooter situation that left 5 other victims with gunshot wounds.
This morning, we're learning more about the officer that was killed in the line of fire during a hostage situation and shooting in a York, Pennsylvania hospital.
Reports of an officer down as well as the shooter down inside the hospital.
Andrew Duarte was killed in the intense firefight. His girlfriend tells ABC News he turned 30 last week and was the best person she knew.
He is to be commended for a life of service, albeit cut way too short.
Authorities say around 10:35 a.m. Saturday, the gunman, identified as Diogenes Archangel Ortiz, stormed into the intensive care unit at UPMC Hospital carrying a handgun and zip ties. That's where, according to officials, the suspect held several hospital staff members hostage.
This did appear to be targeted at the ICU.
Officials say the suspect fired his gun, striking a doctor, a nurse, and a custodian, all in stable condition. As police tried approaching him, they say the suspect emerged into the hallway with the hospital workers still held at gunpoint.
The individual was holding at gunpoint a member of the UPMC staff and ordered the police to get back to behind the doors.
Police then shot and killed the suspect. Now a community left in mourning, supporters placing flowers outside of the West York Police Department in honor of Officer Duarte.
You heard officials say they believe the suspect targeted the ICU. Investigators are now trying to figure out why. But Rachel, they have said the suspect made some kind of contact with the ICU earlier in the week. Rachel?
Still so many questions. Christian, thank you. We turn now to the brazen robberies of elite athletes. Now taking a shocking turn. Reports that a member of the New York Jets was followed home to New Jersey and then robbed at gunpoint. ABC's Faith Abube joins us with the details. Good morning, Faith.
Good morning to you, Rachel. Police say they received several 911 calls shortly after the robbery. The victims did not report any injuries. However, the initial investigation so far has shown that the Jets player and the person he was with were specifically targeted.
This morning, a new probe in the alarming string of robberies targeting high-profile athletes across the country. The latest victim, according to ESPN, a player for the New York Jets, reportedly robbed at gunpoint near his home in New Jersey. Police in Morristown say the suspects followed the unidentified player for 30 miles from Manhattan and got away with money and other personal belongings. Investigators believe it was an isolated incident. But it comes on the heels of a nationwide crime spree targeting high-profile athletes. Just this Friday, suspect Taekwon DeAndre Anderson arrested. Authorities allege he's one of 4 people who stole 3 luxury vehicles from the home of University of Miami quarterback Carson Beck. Police say Anderson confessed. He has been charged with burglary and grand theft and is currently being held without bond. Over the last few months, authorities accusing an alleged crime ring of stealing luxury items, including designer bags and jewelry, from the homes of Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Joe Burrow.
I feel like my privacy has been violated.
Prosecutors charging 7 Chilean nationals, 3 of them pictured here in the selfie, posing in front of a safe and expensive bags.
It's frustrating. It's disappointing.
The same group also accused in this brazen November break-in at the homes of Milwaukee Bucks player Bobby Portis. Surveillance video showing burglars smashing glass, taking a safe, and what appears to be another bag. They were charged in federal court with conspiracy to commit interstate transportation of stolen property, which carries a maximum of 10 years in prison.
You still have to lay your head where you got robbed at, and sometimes it's kind of disturbing.
And Geo, police are still looking for the group of men who targeted the Jets player and the person he was with. In the meantime, though, they're asking anyone with information to reach out to the Morristown Police Department. Geo.
All right, a scary situation there, Faith. Thank you. Now to the new concerns about the housing market after news that existing home sales fell nearly 5% in January. What this could mean for the industry and your wallet. ABC's Phil Lipoff is here now with that. Good morning, Phil.
Hey, Gio, good morning. And this news comes from the National Association of Realtors. And here's how it breaks down. The headline is not great. Existing home sales decreased, as you say, almost 5% in January. The average previously owned home for sale in the last month spent 41 days on the market. That's the longest period since January of 2020. Inventory is another issue. There's not a lot out there. Plus, mortgage rates remain closer to 7 than 6% and haven't changed much over the last few months. That puts home prices at an all-time high for January. Some things to keep in mind, though. January is certainly not spring when it comes to trying to sell a home. It's usually slow, and even though they are down, home sales have still increased year to year for the 4th month in a row.
And Phil, what's happening with the stock market right now? Because it just had its worst day so far this year.
Yeah, it did, Gio. Friday was not a good day on Wall Street. The Dow dropped more than 700 points. You combine that with Thursday, and it's a 1,200-point drop. NASDAQ, S&P 500 also down. Investors are worried about a slowing economy and concerns about inflation. Also, consumers are uncertain about the potential for the president's planned tariffs to increase everyday price on everyday goods in the coming months. Having said all that, it's important to point this out. Despite this week's drop, stocks still remain near an all-time high. The Dow closed Friday at 43,428. Gio?
Wow, just amazing.
Yeah.
All right, Phil, thank you so much.
Now to the NBA season. It's in full swing, and there's a slate of big games happening today. ABC's Rena Roy is here with more. Hey, Rena, good morning.
Hey, Rachel, good morning to you. What better way to spend your Sunday than with some NBA action, right? Well, right here on ABC, we've got an exciting doubleheader. First up, it's the New York Knicks battling the defending champs, the Boston Celtics. The Knicks looking for redemption after a tough 142-105 loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers on Friday. Meanwhile, Boston is riding high on a 4-game win streak, and they will be hungry for another win. Then stick around for the second game as the Dallas Mavericks aim to extend their 3-game win streak against the Golden State Warriors. All eyes will be on Jimmy Butler stepping onto the court for the first time as a Warrior. Catch both games live on ABC starting at 1 p.m. Eastern. But the action doesn't stop there. We've got another doubleheader on ESPN. First, it's the Grizzlies taking on the Cavs, followed by the Thunder facing off against the Timberwolves. That is all starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. Just a full day of basketball on tap. Guys.
I know my fellow Warriors fans excited about Jimmy Butler coming to town. Thank you, Rena. Appreciate it. All right, coming up here on Good Morning America, Alec Baldwin's mental health journey following the deadly shooting on the Rust movie set and what his wife is saying about his diagnosis.
And Dr. Sutton joins us with a closer look at the measles outbreak in West Texas and whether we should be thinking about booster shots.
And the latest edition of Binge This, Will Gans with the top picks, including a thriller involving the White House, and it's a good one. Stick around, you're watching GMA on a Sunday morning.
Welcome back to GMA on this Sunday morning. The wait for new music from Rihanna may almost be over. The singer telling Harper's Bazaar that after years of speculation, she has just cracked the code on what she wants her next project to sound like, and she's happy about it. The star still not, though, giving us any timeline on when exactly the new music is going to drop. We have been on pins and needles waiting for this one.
Oh, she's so good. Yeah.
Amazing.
It's exciting.
Like how she cracked the code, too.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I got it. All right, we're looking forward to that. First, though, let's take a look at some of the other big stories that we're following on this Sunday morning. Happening right now, Israel announcing it's delaying the release of more than 600 Palestinian prisoners and detainees until Hamas stops, in their words, humiliating hostages during the handovers. Hamas responded saying Israel's refusal to free the Palestinian prisoners constitutes a blatant breach of their ceasefire agreement.
Also right now, an emergency landing at LAX, a Delta Airlines flight with more than 160 passengers on board leaving from Los Angeles for Sydney had to turn around 30 minutes into the trip after smoke was detected in the galley. The airline saying no one was hurt and passengers were rebooked on other flights.
And the FDA saying the diabetes drugs Wegovy and Ozempic, which are largely used also for weight loss, are no longer in shortage. The drugs had been in shortage since 2022 due to increased demand.
And soccer great Lionel Messi didn't score any goals during Miami's season opener, but he did save the day. Messi's assist to new teammate Talasco Segovia in the 100th minute of play helped Inter Miami escape with a 2-2 draw at home against New York City FC in their first game of the season.
Look at that.
Golazo.
See, Messi's still making headlines.
Yeah, you still got it, man. Yep.
All right, we are going to start this half hour here with Alec Baldwin revealing how the accidental shooting death of cinematographer Halyna Hutchins took a toll on his mental health and his family. The first episode of his new reality series premiering tonight, and ABC's Morgan Norwood is here on what he and his wife are saying about it all. Good morning, Morgan.
Hey, good morning to you, Gio. Yeah, Alec Baldwin and his family, they're pulling back the curtain and giving viewers a raw look at life after the fatal Rust shooting. In their new reality series, The Baldwins, Baldwin's wife revealing her husband's PTSD diagnosis, with Alec saying some days he couldn't even get out of bed.
7 children, 6 animals, 2 parents. A wild family.
That wild family, the Baldwins.
I've never been through anything like this in my entire life.
Alec Baldwin's new reality show filmed amidst the real-life drama leading up to his involuntary manslaughter trial in connection to the death of cinematographer Halyna Hutchins on the movie set of Rust.
My son lost his mom in the most unthinkable tragedy. This is never something to forget, and we're trying to parent through it.
His wife Hilaria revealing Alec was diagnosed with PTSD in the aftermath of the 2021 shooting and inviting cameras into their therapy.
Where do you go from a tragedy?
I do not want to go back to the life I had. I don't.
While trying to maintain some normalcy for their 7 children.
I feel like our kids have been in a boat.
Yeah.
And that boat's been going up and down and up, and there's been, stormy seas, and they've been scared.
We do see a different side of Alec Baldwin. He comes across as a beleaguered family man, and there is a real sweetness to seeing him engage with his many children. He also does show a side of real upset and real pain when thinking about the case, and I think that's very humanizing.
It was a case that rattled Hollywood. In October 2021, Baldwin was holding a gun for a scene on the Rust movie set when Hutchins and assistant director Joel Souza were shot. Baldwin saying he was told the gun never contained live ammunition, telling our George Stephanopoulos in an exclusive interview that he never pulled the trigger.
So you never pulled the trigger?
No. I would never point a gun at anyone and pull a trigger at them.
In July, a judge dismissing the charges, ruling prosecutors withheld key evidence from Baldwin's defense team, stating it was highly prejudicial.
Your motion to dismiss with prejudice is granted.
An emotional Alec Baldwin breaking down, his wife Hilaria by his side. Since then, the two welcoming cameras in as they publicly navigate the lingering grief and aftermath of the tragedy.
I do think that the end of the trial and now this show closed the book on it for him. I think he will now move on to the next act of his career.
And Baldwin and his wife say the show gives viewers a glimpse into their lives, the good, the bad, the wild, and everything in between. But they're hoping that people connect with their story. It does premiere today on TLC.
Yeah, it's really something.
Yeah, quite the journey. Thank you, Morgan. Appreciate it.
We are taking a closer look this morning at the illnesses going around this season. So acute respiratory illness is listed as high or very high in nearly half of the country, according to the CDC. Meanwhile, the outbreak of measles that is growing rapidly in Texas. And so joining us more now on how to stay healthy, of course, is ABC News medical correspondent Dr. Darian. All right, so Dr. Darian, it is still flu season.
Yes.
And we're learning that flu deaths actually surpassing COVID-19 deaths for the first time since the pandemic started?
For the first time since the pandemic started, and numbers are exceptionally high. We're talking about some of the highest numbers we've seen in 15 years. Wow. And as I was saying during the break, if you come to the emergency room with me, you would very much see it. Many of my patients suffering from the symptoms of flu A. And test positivity is also high. 25% of tests returning back positive this year compared to 18% last year. And that contributes to that 33 million illnesses and close to 500,000 hospitalizations.
I'm remembering my grandpa telling me you're going to catch a cold if you go outside when it's freezing out, right? And we've seen these like fluctuations in temperatures of the cold and now the warm up. Yeah. But does the weather really play any difference in making people sick?
You know, I think that's a great question. And my answer is yes, but not all of what we think is to be true. Our grandparents are right. When you go out cold, that does suppress your immune system, can make you more susceptible to infections. But really what it is that when it gets cold, we all move inside and we all share germs, and that increases our risk of exposure. The good news is that right now we're seeing signs of a relative peak, which we can remain hopeful for, but we have to remain cautious. The flu season extends until early spring, so you still have to protect yourself.
You still have to protect yourself. Okay, so let's talk about the measles in West Texas. We see that outbreak. Cases are spreading. What are the symptoms here? When do you actually see them?
Yeah, so measles is doing what it does best, spreading. It's the most contagious infection that exists. Just for context, one infected person can infect up to 18 other people who do not have immune protection. Wow. And vaccine rates are reasons why we should pay attention. They're steadily declining, and we have pockets of communities that are significantly under-vaccinated. Gaines County in Texas, 20% of children are not up to date on their MMR vaccine, measles, mumps, and rubella, which is one of the reasons why we're seeing an epicenter there right now. In close to 30 years, in Texas history, close to 30 years, some of the highest numbers he's ever seen in terms of measles. So symptoms to look out for. I've treated measles during our 2019 outbreak. Common symptoms include high fever, sometimes exceeding 104 degrees Fahrenheit, that textbook rash that can cover your whole body, cough, and sometimes conjunctivitis. It can start 1 to 3 weeks after exposure. And just remember, vaccines work. The MMR vaccine, which you get normally between 12 months and 15 months, is up to 95% effective in preventing. So these numbers are all preventable.
Okay, so 2 follow-ups on the vaccines. Do adults need the vaccines, and do we need to accelerate the vaccine series for young kids?
That's a great question. I think we just need to catch up. We need at least 95% of the population to be vaccinated in order to prevent outbreaks. Right now, we're steadily declining to 93%, but that number is not uniform across every state. As I said, you have pockets of significantly under-vaccinated communities. So do you need a booster? Most likely, no. The vaccine, thankfully, provides protection throughout your life. However, if you have immune compromise, or for example, if you're on chemotherapy, if you have other conditions, you can talk to your doctor about getting tested for a titer. But overall, you are safe. Your risk is relatively low if you are vaccinated.
Okay. Dr. Darian, as always, appreciate it. Of course. Coming up here on Good Morning America, Will Gans is joining us with a look at the most bingeable TV shows and movies this week. We are back now on GMA and a look at the TV shows and movies to binge this week as we count down to the Oscars, only 7 days away now. And Will Gans has all the details for us. Will, good morning to you. You know, a lot of big thrillers happening in television right now.
Oh, yeah. So before we get to the Oscars, there are 2 TV shows that I am so excited to be telling you guys about this morning. I am obsessed with this new series called Cassandra on Netflix. It's about a family in Germany who moves into a vintage smart house. So the tech in the home all has sort of this 80s vibe. And there's a robot named Cassandra who roams around the house. But on night number 1, she is already creeping into the kids' room, and you become aware immediately that Cassandra doesn't intend to let this family live here in peace. It's a limited series, only 6 episodes, and they're all streaming on Netflix now. Now, we also have to talk about Paradise on Hulu. It stars Emmy winner Sterling K. Brown as a Secret Service agent tasked with keeping the president alive, who's played by James Marsden. Within minutes, you become aware that the president is dead. But what if I told you that that's not the biggest plot twist in episode 1? Hulu releases new episodes every Tuesday, and there are only 2 left for this season, which means the second to last episode will air on February 25th, and the show has already been picked up for season 2. You're a fan.
Yeah, I'm excited that there's a season 2 because I am binging this one. It's really good. Okay, let's turn now to the Oscars. 7 days away. What's going to be on the ground reporting for us?
Yes.
How do we get in the mood?
All right, the official pre-party is the SAG Awards, which air tonight on Netflix Live. Kristen Bell will serve as the MC, which is the first time that the show has had a host since 2019. Wicked is, of course, the most nominated film of the night. But get this, if Anora takes home the top award, Best Cast in a Motion Picture, that could mean it's a lock for Best Picture at the Oscars. Anora has already won top honors at the Directors and Producers Guild Awards. Also, Jane Fonda will be honored by Julia Louis-Dreyfus with the Lifetime Achievement Award. The show starts at 8 p.m. on Netflix tonight.
Okay, can't wait. But love Kristen Bell. Okay, so what about some last-minute nominees to stream?
Okay, I love The Wild Robot. It is one of my favorite movies of the year, animated or otherwise. It's about a robot that washes up on an island inhabited only by animals, and she ends up helping to care for an orphaned goose. It's available to stream at home on Peacock and is nominated for 3 Academy Awards. I can't recommend that enough. Or if you're looking for something slightly more mature, check out Sing Sing. Coleman Domingo plays a wrongfully incarcerated man who joins the Rehabilitation Through the Arts program, which aims to use theater as a form of rehabilitation. Coleman is absolutely amazing in it. He's nominated for Best Actor next weekend, and what's really cool is that he stars alongside many real-life, formerly incarcerated men who are alumni of the program in real life. So lots of good stuff to watch.
Sing Sing is amazing.
Yes.
Coleman Domingo, unbelievable in it. Yeah.
This is nominated 2 years in a row, by the way.
Yeah. Never happened.
Incredible. Thank you, Will. We appreciate it.
Now on GMA, and people who are going bleary-eyed for a good cause, okay? Penn State is holding its annual dance marathon. It's known as Thon this weekend. It's 46 hours of no sitting, no sleeping, just dancing. Wow. More than 16,000 student volunteers raising money for the fight against childhood cancer. This is the 53rd year of the event. It's raised over $230 million, nearly $17 million last year alone. And of course, you got the performances, the pep rally, the dancing. You can stream it online till this afternoon. The money raised means that more than 4,800 families will never see a medical bill.
Really? Did you say 46 hours?
46
Wow.
hours.
Keep dancing.
My knee is aching just thinking about that. All right. Well, a reminder, everybody, ABC News Live now has weekend programming every weekend.
Thank you so much for starting your day with us. We'll see you later on this morning on ABC's This Week. Have a good one.